Today we're going to be looking at this H7 Flow case. It's the middle case of 3 new cases from NZXT, the H7, H7 Flow and the H7 Elite. And the difference with this one is it's got a mesh front on it. We're going to basically test this, compare it against the other two and see how well it actually performs. Okay, we're looking at these new NZXT cases. They're called the H7 series. There are 3 of them available, the standard version, the Flow version, which is this one, and an Elite one, which has got lots of RGB on it. They're out to replace the older H710 and H710i cases from NZXT. So we're going to have a look at them and see exactly how good they are. If you want to see the other 2 cases, we have reviewed those as well. Just check our past videos. Right. So let's have a look at the side. So as you can see, tempered glass side, it has got a tint to it, so it does make it look fairly dark inside, so you'll struggle to see stuff if you don't have any RGB lighting going off inside your case. But it is toolless, and when I say toolless, the side panel, the top, the other side and the front, totally toolless. You don't need any screws, they just pull off, which has got its advantages and disadvantages. Advantages, obviously, easy to access. Don't need screwdrivers. Disadvantages, someone can easily access the inside of your machine and nick your £2,000 graphics card. But otherwise, it's a good idea. So to open it, all you do, there's a little cutout near the top. You just basically push it. It pops out like that. It can be a little bit stiff sometimes, especially when they're new. And then you just lift the side and it comes off. Okay, so let's have a look at the top first. It is ventilated. It does have mesh behind it. We'll take that off in a few seconds. But you've got a power button. You've also got 2 USB 3 sockets, a USB Type-C and a combined audio socket. To remove the top, to access obviously where you'd put a water cooler or some extra fans or whatever, it's pretty easy. You just pull up at the back of the case. Again, there's a little cutout. You just put your fingers in there and give it a pull and it pops off. And you can also access obviously the dust filter on there, and that will pull off as well if you're wanting to. So you can easily access the machine and clean it with ease. You will also need to take the top off to be able to take the front of the case off as well. On the front of the case, you've got the NZXT name at the bottom. You've also got that mesh front as well, which has got a dust filter directly behind it. To take it off, you have to make sure you take the top part of the case off first, and then you just pull in the recess forward. It can be a bit tight again, and it pops off. The dust filter will just pop out of the actual case in here very easily if needs be, but you can access the front. One thing which is slightly different between this and the standard H case, or the H7 case, is there is no extra airflow coming in from that side panel there. There is on the bottom though, there is actually a dust filter and some airflow can get through the bottom there, which is also on a tray which you can remove. So the back and the side of the case, so the reverse side is easy to get off as well. You just pull this little recess here, the side pops off and you just pull up and it comes off. Pretty straightforward. At the top, you do have a little bit of airflow there, but there's no dust filter on it. So it's just basically a bit of open space just to give basically water coolers a bit more room in the top of the case so you can fit them easily. It does come with a 120mm fan on the back. There is also a 120mm one installed on the front of the case as well. These are non-RGB, so just standard case fans. You've got your cutout for your I/O shield, which obviously your motherboard connections will be. You've got 7 bays going down for graphics cards and so forth. You've got a little area here. This isn't for vertical mounting. This is basically just there so you can install something like a GPU bracket, which will obviously support the weight of your GPU inside the case if you wish. And then obviously the hole where your power supply goes. On the bottom of the case, you've got 4 plastic feet, which have got rubber inserts on to obviously stop it sliding around on the desk. And there's plenty of height there to allow airflow in and out. Unless you've got a really, really thick carpet you're putting it on, which then I suggest you put it on a flat surface like a board or on top of a desk or something like that. Otherwise, you've got a dust filter which protects the power supply, which just slides out. You can access that easily. You don't have to turn the machine upside down. I've also mentioned the filter on the front as well. You've also got your hard drive bays on the opposite side of here. You can actually unscrew those via thumb screw on the inside and remove those totally if you wished. Okay, let's go over the specifications before we look at the inside of the case. So the CPU clearance is 185mm. The GPU length or clearance is 400mm. The front fan slash radiator clearance is 60 millimeters, and the top one is 30 millimeters, so it gives you plenty of room. Now, cable management, there is plenty of room on this. Is between 18 and 22 millimeters on there, which is pretty good. The USB ports on the front are USB 3.2 Gen 1, and obviously you've got the two Type A's as well as the Type C. Now, there are no RGB or fan controllers built into this model, but there are on the Elite model, which is the top-end one with all the RGB lighting. Now, fan support, you can fit 3 120s or 3 140s on the front. On the top, you can either fit 3 120s or 2 140s on the top. And on the rear, either a 120 or a 140. Bear in mind, the case does come with two 120mm fans, one on the front, one on the back. Radiator support, if you're doing water cooling, on the front you can go up to 360mm, including a 280. On the top you can do up to a 360, including a 280 as well. And on top of that, you can add one on the rear if you really wished at 140mm. Okay, let's have a look at the inside of the case. So first of all, let's start at the top. So we've got a huge cutout going across the top where you can fit plenty of cables through, ideally for something like a top-mounted water cooler or your CPU power cables. You've also got the cutout for the back of the CPU on the motherboard, so you can attach mounting brackets and stuff like that for a water cooler or air cooler without removing it from the case. Now, towards the bottom, we've got two more cutouts along the bottom. They're quite large as well, so you can put in things through like audio cables, USB cables and stuff like that, front panel cables. You have the shroud at the bottom, which has a mesh top on it, so it will let airflow in and out of that compartment. There is no cutout, though, on the side, which shows the manufacturer's name of the power supply, which is a bit of a shame. I would have liked an option so you could show that. Maybe something like a plastic insert or a piece of rubber with the NZXT logo on it, which you could remove or keep on. But again, that's something I always ask on cases and I've not seen yet. There is also another cutout on the shroud right in the middle, right here. That's to put things like your GPU cables for your power up through the center if you needed or wished. There's plenty of room around the front for your water coolers if you do, and then you've got this bar here, which is basically there to hide all your cables and so forth from your motherboard. But otherwise, the inside's pretty straightforward, but does look pretty nice and black, shall we say. So on the back side of the case, or the reverse side of the motherboard, or whatever you want to call it, you've got plenty of cable options or cabling routing and so forth. You've got one down here, one across the top, one at the back there. Plenty of places to put your cables. Even if you're really crap at cable tidying, you should be able to do something with this. They are velcroed in. There are a few other little tie downs here and there. But otherwise, you shouldn't have any problems with the cabling. There is plenty of options available, a lot more than I've seen on most cases, if not all the cases on the market. Now, you do have two 2.5-inch drives there, or bays where you can attach drives. They're classed as toolless, but they are sort of screwed in, so it's sort of a little bit, yeah, it's toolless, but it's not. So I would have preferred it to be totally toolless like the rest of the case. But you do have the option for two 2.5-inch drives, whether they're solid-state drives or traditional 2.5-inch hard drives. Down the bottom, you do have options here to add two traditional hard drives. You've also got some fittings in there as well, which does give you some brackets for a couple more SSDs if you wish. The hard drive bay can be removed if you wish, and there's plenty of room here for all your cabling from your power supply, especially if you've got a modular or something along that lines. Otherwise, you've got your cabling in there. All looks good, all black, some of it flat, some of it rounded, apart from the one thing, which is the HD audio, which is multicolored. So it's got lots of different colors on there. Looks like a sachet packet or a rainbow. It's 2022, guys. Get rid of this. I see cases worth 20 quid, which managed to do this. All you need to do, though, is get a black marker pen on and paint it over or something along that lines, or get some insulation tape over it. But it's something what you shouldn't really have to do in a case what's totally black, and then you've got this one cable what's sticking out on your totally black motherboard, which has got multicolored cables sticking out of it. Not good. So to test in, we tested the CPU by running Cinebench for 30 minutes and getting the average temperature of the CPU. The standard H7 got 72 degrees. When you took the front off, it dropped down to 68. The H7 Flow with the mesh front got 69, and when we took the front off, it dropped down to 67. But the Elite was really, really hot at 71 degrees Celsius. When we took the front off, though, it did drop down to 62 degrees due to the extra fans it has over the other cases. On this test, we basically did the same thing again, but this time put 4 140mm fans what come with the Elite case in all the other cases. So we got an even playing field on the amount of fans. And as you can see here, we got 68 degrees on the H7. Take the front off, it dropped down to 62. H7 Flow was 63 degrees, down to 62 if you take the front off. And the Elite still really hot, 71, and drops down to 62. So as you can see, the Elite is a very hot case. So in this test, we test the GPU temperature while we're running Thermark, again, average temperature over 30 minutes. And as you can see, the temperature ranges between 68 degrees down to 64, just showing that the Elite can cool down a lot better with those extra fans if it actually didn't have the glass on the front. But otherwise, the temperatures weren't that much of a difference in all reality and won't really make much difference playing any games or anything along that lines. So NZXT has brought us out another decent case, and it's very easy to build in. The magnetic sides, tops, front, and everything like that, absolutely brilliant. Pretty much 99% toolless design. The only thing you've really got to screw in is obviously the motherboard, power supply, and potentially the SSD. But otherwise, the case itself is toolless. So that is very, very good. Obviously, this one is the middle of 3 different cases. So you've got the H7, this is the H7 Flow, and then you've got the H7 Elite. Well, this one's got a mesh front on it, so it does allow it to have extra airflow coming in. We did some tests. We found that if we took the front off, we'd lower the CPU temperatures by 2 degrees, which, to be honest, is pretty good. And the GPU was 1 degree difference. That's telling us, basically, that is a good airflow on there. The thing what's really impeding the airflow, though, is actually the dust filter in the front. We found that that was causing most of the resistance of the air being able to get sucked in. Bear in mind, we're going to test the Elite case as well. You will do a graph above. You'll be able to see all that, blah, blah, blah. So you can see the difference. But bear in mind, the Elite case does come with more fans. So it does have an advantage, even though it doesn't have that mesh front. So in conclusion, you've got a very good case, easy to build with, does everything you want. It's got that minimalist design. If you like NZXT, you're going to love this. You've got a couple of color options available as well. So there's nothing really to complain about, to be honest with you. So overall, it's a very good case, and I would definitely highly recommend it. Did you enjoy this case review? Well, I did. Why don't you check out the review of the plain standard H7 just up here? Just click that box. Otherwise, you can check out the review for the Elite model. So that's the H7 Elite by clicking this box here. Otherwise, give us a thumbs up, like, you know the drills. Just click on them. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.